Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Break the Yoke. If you're watching this video, you're probably already family, friends, supporters, or church family. If you've just sort of stumbled across this video, please watch it. If it's something you're interested in, follow us. If not, it's no worries. Anyway, thank you for your patience with our first video. Sort of getting used to this YouTube thing and making videos and not quite comfortable with it, but I think it's one of the best ways for us to get news out about our work. Thank you for those of you who reached out either in the comments section or personally to just sort of give us feedback about the first video. Apparently, the audio was really low and it was difficult to hear me. And I tend to be soft-spoken, so hopefully wearing the headset will remedy that. If not, please let me know. We do appreciate the comments and the likes. If you have a YouTube account, please subscribe. Apparently, the way YouTube works is the more subscribers you have and stuff along those lines, the more features you have available. I doubt that I'll need those features, but later on, once we go overseas, it might be convenient at times. I think right now we have like a 15-minute max as far as time on the video or per video. So anyway, this video, I want to talk a little bit about our situation and where we currently stand. There's been a lot of confusion and people seem to have a hard time keeping track of us, and that's mostly my fault for being really bad about putting out updates. So we've had some people who thought we were currently overseas. We've had other people who thought we left and came back. Some people who thought our assignment was canceled. And some people who thought that we were back in the U.S. on furlough visiting. And the answer is this. We, in 2017, we did go over to Southeast Asia. It was a trip that we funded ourselves, and it was a personal trip. We were hoping to accomplish a couple of things there, and a good share of it we did accomplish. The main one was to see my wife's family. She hasn't been able to see them in several years, and for them to be reunited, and for our daughter to meet her grandparents, her aunts, and her uncles on that side of the family, and for me to be able to meet my in-laws. We were able to see some of the family. My wife was able to see both her parents as well as some of her brothers and sisters. I was only able to meet my father-in-law just because of the political situation over there. And the area that we would need to access, I would stand out and it would cause more problems for everybody. So it was decided it was best for me to stay in one region, and my father-in-law came out and met me, and it was great. He's a wonderful man. I have a lot of respect for him, and he's just he's amazing. The other reason we went over was we sort of wanted confirmation that we were on the right track. We both felt called to work with a certain NGO, a Christian humanitarian group, and we sort of wanted to touch base with them again, and we had the opportunity to do that while we were there. And we did feel as though we were on the right track, and we really enjoyed being able to meet up with people that we had conversed with, friends that we had met before, and people that we had never met, and just get to know them. And it's always sort of neat. When we returned to the U.S., we put our application in with that organization, and we were accepted. It's the way the organization works. It's not necessarily easy to get in, And it's just the line of work they do. They're looking for a certain type of skill set. They're looking for a certain type of person. And they absolutely should with the work they're doing. We were ecstatic when our applications were accepted, and we started the fundraising. And the fundraising went slower than we anticipated, and at times it was disheartening. We we were thankful for every donation, but we were starting to question, is this where God wants us to go, or are we trying to force our own way, our own will? And that was a prayer that we would say quite often. And we were recently surprised when our pastor from our home chapel in Pennsylvania contacted us and said that we were really quite close to reaching our goal. Again, it took a lot longer than we anticipated. We live in northern New England, so we're not near our home church anymore, which really hurt us. But the reason we did that was to be closer to my family. Anticipating that we were going to be going overseas, we wanted to be close to my father, my brothers, sisters, and nieces and nephews, so that we could all spend quality time together before we headed over. In the meantime, I got injured, and that sort of set us back a little bit. And that was only recently. So last summer, I started having severe pain in my neck and my shoulder. I went to a doctor, and they said, oh, well, you have a partially torn rotator cuff, you have a tear in your bicep, and you need a total shoulder replacement. So that happened back in November. I'm still healing from that. I'm still going through physical therapy, and just recently I was allowed to return to work part-time. Prior to that, we had paid off what little debt we had, and we only had that debt because we were building up credit for my wife, who hadn't had any. So we had paid that off, and now we're sort of stuck with having to pay off the hospital bills before we head overseas. So we are still planning on going, unless something happens and God changes our minds, changes our hearts. We're still on track to go. We're just moving at a slower pace than we anticipated. In the meantime, the situation in the region is still unstable, and there's a lot more going on other places that this NGO is involved in. Really, we couldn't do this without other people. That sort of goes without saying. But it's not just donors. It's people who take time. We've really just had so much help from different people in different aspects of our life, whether it's related to the mission, whether it's related to work, whether it's related to my surgery. We had three of my coworkers come up and cut firewood for us after my surgery, because we live in an older house. Not really old, not like century old, but it was built in the 1950s or 60s. It has electric heat. We live in northern New England, and it's expensive to run that, to heat that house. And with a wood stove in the basement, that thing will heat the house and keep it nice and toasty warm. But we hadn't had an opportunity to get any firewood or cut any firewood. And, these three coworkers, Mike, Jesse, and Steve, came up and spent a whole afternoon cutting trees, quartering them, splitting them. And it's saved us so much trouble. You just can't thank people like that enough. Whether they know it or not, it's a really big deal. We've had people who have made donations. It doesn't matter how much. Maybe it's a single donation, maybe it's multiple donations, maybe it's We've even had people donate materials. Now, we really don't need a whole lot of materials because we don't want to have to be bringing a whole lot more overseas with us. But the materials that this particular person donated came in really handy, and that was wonderful. The other thing is the majority of our funds have been raised through our chapel. And for the size of our chapel, that's amazing. When I originally started going to this chapel in Pennsylvania, it's a small chapel, but it was filled to the brim. There was well over 100 people in there. And recently I went back to visit, and it was really disheartening because the congregation was so small, and it's not anything that anyone did. It's, the same wonderful pastor, the same messages, the same leadership, and the same elders. The problem is some of the teenagers grew up and went off to college. Other people got married and want to start their own life with a different church. We had people retire. We had people pass away. So the size of the congregation was shocking. Yet they still managed to raise so much money through this last year to help us on this mission. And keep in mind, we have all of the people in this organization are 100% volunteer. Even the founder, him and his family have to come back on furlough every year and travel and speak at churches in order to raise money so that they themselves can continue their relief work. And we have to do the same. All of the workers do. The money that is raised then goes towards our cost of living. So it covers our housing, it covers our food, it will cover our daughter's education while we're over there. It covers visas and passports. So it's not like we're making any money off from it. We have no financial gain in it. What we do gain is helping others and hoping to make the world a better place, hoping to give people relief, hoping to give people hope, and standing next to those who are broken or oppressed, and hoping that if we were ever in the same situation, someone else would do the same for us. So that's sort of where we stand, and I'm running out of time here. I think I have less than 2 more minutes for this video. But if you have any questions, I know I'm sort of rambling, and I know I'm sort of all over the board, but please feel free to comment below or email us. You can email us at Fitzgerald, FBR.gmail.com. So it's FITZGERALDEH FBR@gmail.com. So FITZ capital GERALDEH@gmail.com. And we thank you guys. There's really no thanking you enough, everyone who's helped us. So thank you. Blessings. Shalom.